All right, guys. Welcome to the Partisan Hacks podcast, episode 1. I don't know the title I want to give this. What title do you think we should give this? Money, 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 dollar bills?
We'll figure it out. I don't know. Maybe we just call it episode 1. That sounds pretty creative to me.
Yeah, episode 1, Cash Money Records. It is December 23rd.
Zach, Jason.
We are just a couple of days from Christmas. And Trump delivered us a Christmas miracle. But we're going to get to that in a second. I just want to talk about who we are, what this podcast is about, and then just start off there, and then we can just dive right into it. My name is Franco. This way. This is Logan here.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
We've been friends since high school, and then we've followed politics pretty closely, and then we realized that we that's how we actually started talking about politics. We were arguing on Instagram, and then we realized that we kind of agreed with a lot of things, and then it just went from there. So this podcast is basically, I feel like everyone kind of wants to start a podcast because they feel like they know what they're talking about. But we actually do know what we're talking about. Everyone else is just wrong. No,
for real.
Yeah. So this is just we're going to be looking at just political news, stuff that interests us. We can be talking about a lot of different things, but we're going to be unapologetically partisan, or just taking the Jimmy Dore approach, telling you how it is type of thing, you know?
For real. Always telling it how it is.
Always telling you how it is. But we're going to be pushing for progressive policies and all of that good fluff. So did you want to start off with let's just talk about the stimulus bill. I know we're a little bit behind on it because it passed this weekend, but
right, yeah. So Mitch McConnell and Pelosi finally agreed on something. It was like the main thing is the checks are going to be $600, and Mitch dropped the liability in exchange for no state and local aid, was it?
Yeah, no state and local aid. Let's take a look at exactly what's inside of this here. After 8 months of back and forth, Democratic and Republican leaders announced on Sunday that they arrived at agreement on a roughly $900 billion plan. The House of Representatives will vote on the bill Monday, according to House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer. I hope I pronounced that right. So, what's included in this bill? Let's talk about it. So, first things first, we're gonna talk about what am I getting in my hand? What check am I getting right in my fucking hand? It's gonna be $600 direct payments for individuals who make under $75,000 a year or less, and $1,200 for couples who make under $150,000. So $600. How do we feel about that?
All right, so if I remember correctly, the brackets are the same this time, but it seems like the payments have just been halved across the board.
Yeah.
In terms of the main payments, I think when we get to dependents and stuff like that, it's actually a bit better than it was last time. But
yeah. So basically, it's half of what we received last time with the CARES Act.
Right.
These negotiations were going on for how long? About maybe a couple months and months. Yeah, and then this is what we get. It's gracious of Mitch McConnell to bless us right before Christmas with this nice. People
right.
have a right.
Nothing. We can't be too dependent on the government or anything.
People have a right to be upset. Basically, what Senate Republicans did was that they fucked us, and then they threw a towel at us and told us to clean ourselves up. They completely they completely fucked us, and then we're just supposed to say, wow, gee, thanks. All right, let's keep on going. So they would get $600 per child, which is up from $300 in the last CARES Act. So that's something.
Now, is there a limit on that? Is that up to 3, or was that the HEROES Act?
No, that was the HEROES Act. I think that was limited to 3. But so just to be clear, this is $600 per child. This does not include adult dependents like us.
Right. Never that.
No, yeah, because I don't know, Congress has some type of fucking problem with adult dependents. I guess they don't like those two words being combined like that. But so $325 billion for PPP. A lot of people are saying it's a little too late because over 100,000 small businesses have already closed.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would explain why it's such little money. I mean, not many businesses left to save, but I
Yeah,
mean, if we
exactly.
caught this
It's like,
earlier, I really don't think we would have been having to, like,
I don't know, man. It just seems like Senate Republicans, they it's actually a smart tactic because you provide this 325 billion, but it's not going to be used up because like half the 100,000 businesses are closed, so they get to keep the money. It's then we keep on going up. Then they have an additional $300 weekly in unemployment payments. That would last 10 weeks total, so it'd be at 3,000 additional dollars on top of whatever people get in UI benefits or UI payments. A lot of people were saying that this is this. It seems nice, but this is if you qualify for the UI. And I don't. Correct me if
and
I'm
then
wrong.
you can get on if you qualify.
Correct me if you but correct me if I'm wrong. If you do get the UI, do you no longer qualify for the 600? I thought that's what I heard.
Is that a thing? I didn't hear about that. That'd be fucking insane.
I don't know about that. I should have. I don't want to look it up right now because I feel like it's gonna be a hassle to look it up.
I can
don't
look it up
know.
right now.
That's the one claim that I am not. Yeah, you go ahead and look it up while I read off the rest of the stuff. We have $25 billion in rental assistance and 1 month extension on the eviction moratorium. Advocates have argued that we needed at least $100 billion in rental aid to cover the current shortfalls in debt owed. So I don't know if that message didn't get across because we only got a quarter of that out now. And with 40 million Americans facing eviction when the moratorium ends at the end of this month, I mean, I have to hand it to the Republicans because at least people aren't getting evicted right before Christmas or right after Christmas, right? They're gonna get evicted around Valentine's Day, which is pretty.
Yeah, they always have been
pretty hype.
Stalwart defenders of Christmas and the war on Christmas and us lefties trying to abolish it and such.
Nice.
So it only makes sense that they'd save all the homeowners.
Exactly. There's also a really cool thing in there that it sounds like the wording from it sounds like they're trying to end surprise medical bills, but the one catch, and there's always a catch because we can't have nice things, it does not include ground ambulances, which make up a pretty good portion of those surprise billing. So
that's like always the stories you hear is like the ambulance bills, you know what I mean? So.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I'd rather just Uber there and just put a good tip on it or something. So like you said before at the beginning of at the top of the pod, no state or local aid and no liability shield. I want to talk about what the HEROES Act is because I've been seeing a lot of, now I don't know if this is like genuine or if this is like maybe people who aren't politically engaged, but I'm seeing a lot of both sides rhetoric coming from social media and stuff like that about how pitiful this stimulus bill. There's two things I'd like to correct. First things first, any stimulus right now is good. Like, I mean good within relative to not having anything.
Nothing is devastating. We need something, and like
exactly.
I think we'll get into it later, but when Trump was talking about pushing for the $2,000 stimulus checks, he pretty much blamed all the lack of COVID relief on the Democrats, even though, correct me if I'm wrong, which I'm not, but legislation made it through the House and died on the Senate floor, like on McConnell's, not even on the floor, on McConnell's desk.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of. I mean, I think there was a tweet. I can't find it now, but there was a tweet that showed like the stack of bills just sitting on McConnell's desk, and I'm just like, the desk was about to break, and you gotta. I mean, it's also kind of Democrats' fault for giving that much work to this fucking tortoise. He's not gonna get through the whole thing, the whole tortoise and the hare shit. Yeah, but
kind of overwhelming him.
So I want to correct that. I mean, I've even seen a lot of people shit on the CARES Act, which that helped out a lot of people.
Like that 600 UI that was pretty much pivotal in the V-shaped recovery we had. That was keeping the economy afloat.
Exactly, and I'll put I'll try to load up the description in this with different links and sources that you can take a look at just to I can back up what I'm saying.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the CARES Act got out pretty quickly, didn't it?
It did. It did.
Pretty quick, which I was surprised
Well, it was a little bit. It was a little bit difficult with how they were implementing it.
Yeah, but like I'm like the legislation got through pretty quickly.
Yeah. The second thing I want to correct is that this is not a both sides thing. The Nancy Pelosi, whether you like her or you don't like her, the Wicked Witch of the West, she passed 2 multi-trillion-dollar stimulus bills through the House. Like they are ready to be signed by the Senate. Like even Trump, like Mnuchin was giving us a plan, which people were saying, consider Mnuchin's plan. Mnuchin he doesn't have any power to implement any of this. First of all,
it's crazy because like none of this is really behind closed doors. You could walk up to Mitch and ask him, and he'd be like, "Yeah, fuck no, I'm not passing any of these bills." Like
Mnuchin is putting out that plan is like if I tweeted out, what I think the people should get. I mean, he is the the treasury, the secretary of Treasury, but he doesn't have any power to actually implement any of this. But it just goes to show that, I mean, even the White House, and it's exemplified by what we're going to talk about later, but even the White House isn't on the same page with Senate Republicans. And I just want to talk about it because I one of the things that I want this podcast to do is I want this to be accessible to people who also don't keep up with politics all the time, or who,
right.
Yeah. So
one of my goals is to make political discussion kind of mainstream with this.
Because
how amazing would that be if like people weren't scared to talk about it anymore and we could have some like productive open discourse?
Yeah, because I feel like I just feel like the right has such dominating effect on the internet, and there needs to be a media type of push for the left. And I mean, we've been seeing it, and I feel really good, regardless if I agree ideologically with everyone. I still like seeing left or left-leaning, leftist, whatever you want to call it, ideals being pushed forward. But not to get too much off track. So let's talk about the HEROES Act. Let's talk about what could have been. This bill was passed by Nancy Pelosi through the House. The Democrats were trying to give us more fucking money. This is not a both sides thing. All right,
let me get a vote in the Senate, right? It's not like it didn't pass. Like Mitch didn't even bring it up for a vote.
He didn't even bring it up for a vote. All right, so if we're talking about the there was actually 2 separate multi-trillion-dollar bills that passed, but we're talking about the one that I really liked was the HEROES Act. All right, just to start off, it did include state and local aid. It had $500 billion for states, $375 billion for local governments, and $20 billion for tribal communities, another $20 billion for territories like Puerto Rico, Guam, and all the other ones.
This was introduced in June, by the way. It was introduced in June, and it died in like.
Yeah, this was in June. That's the insane part. This was introduced in fucking June.
May. It was introduced in May, and it died in July.
This came out in May. We could have already had this. All right. So there was, like I said, then it was $1,200 for single filers. That's like a direct payment. And $2,400 for joint filers. Then it also included $1,200 for each dependent. And I didn't say kid, I said dependent because it did include college students, like adult dependents, because it kind of put college students in a kind of a weird position because we had to. In order to get financial aid, we have to label ourselves as dependents, technically, because that's just how it works.
Right, and we're broke, and we didn't get any stimulus because of it.
Exactly, and because of that, because we're adult dependents, that wasn't covered in the first CARES Act, and it's not covered in this stimulus bill. But in this HEROES Act, again, that passed the House, it was included. Okay, an additional $600 weekly in UI payments. And this is a little.
How long does that last for?
For the same 10 weeks.
Okay.
And then self-employed and freelancers were included in that unemployment benefit, which was also a problem before because they were not included the last time. My mother is self-employed, and she couldn't. She had to, like, they told her that it was a weird way that she had to file for unemployment and then get denied, and then they would be able to implement it. And this was only strictly, this wasn't federally, this was only for Delaware, because Delaware did set up something afterward for self-employed people.
We shouldn't have tried to like jury rig the unemployment system for like relief anyway. Like that was just a bad idea, trying to force everybody onto it.
I mean, I kind of like it because it did, for the people who did receive those weekly UI benefits, it kind of showed just like what could be like the welfare isn't bad. Like
Oh right, no, I'm completely fine with like the amount of money they got and how often they got it. I just like don't think doing it through the unemployment system was like
I mean, they could just make
idea.
They could just make the direct payments be recurrent payments.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, they could have done that. Then 10 billion in PPP for the payment protection plan. It's less than what we're getting now, but I mean, we're trying to pay people to stay home. We're not trying to pay, like do payroll.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they're covering like a shit ton more bases in this bill, so it's kind of okay. If, like,
but it's still 10 billion. It's still 10 billion.
This was in May, so like not nearly as many businesses were dying or dead back then.
Exactly. Then we have 3.6 billion for vote by mail. This was like some of that pork belly that Mitch McConnell said. This is like the skinniest, like what do you call it, the runt of the litter pork belly like type stuff.
If you can even call it that.
Yeah, because this is not. I mean, he says that it's not about what do you call it? About the coronavirus, but it kind of is. It kind of is. We have
quite literally is like protective measures, like trying to ensure that people can vote safely at home and not die.
Yeah, and we saw just how popular it is, like vote, like to the point where Trump was like scratching his head, like, oh well, when we counted the vote by mail, Joe Biden just spiked up
700,000 votes. I can't believe that me telling people not to vote by mail for like 6 fucking months straight meant that they wouldn't vote by mail.
You remember the conspiracy with the graph that just went straight up?
Oh, I know. It was like the snake shit.
No, 100 billion in rental assistance, and the eviction moratorium would have been expanded not by 1 month, not by 2, 3, 4, but by a year. A year.
Damn. Starting to sound like the countries that we compare ourselves to all the time.
Exactly. Like do you understand how much of a saving grace that is? First of all, 100 billion in rental assistance. That matches the figures that like the experts in the housing industry were talking about. Right. And no also war on math going here. Yeah, like no war on math. Also, eviction moratorium expanded for a year. That's dude, the audacity. What the fuck? Like now that I think about it, a month.
Yeah, I like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Get back up on your feet in that month? I doubt it.
Like, what? No, wait, bro. Because the stimulus is actually the vaccine. You have to remember that. You have to remember Trump said that. The stimulus is the vaccine.
I forget which Republican representative or senator tweeted it, but it was like the best form of stimulus, a job. Like, wow.
A job.
That's really funny.
Wow, good one, dork. Fuck out of here. All right, next.
All those unemployed people who are just so lazy.
No, but the Republicans are the working class party now.
Right.
All right.
I fucking hate that. Like, they're not like choosing not to work. They have to know that, right?
I thought that was the case. Though. I thought we didn't want them to work. Like that, because we want them to stay home.
But on top of that, a lot of them do want to work and can't because they got furloughed.
All right. It would have suspended student loan payments for another year, which is, poggers, and $200 billion. This is what I liked a lot. $200 billion for a heroes fund, which would have been paid out to essential workers in the form of a $13 per hour pay premium on top of their salaries. Which is, I mean, it's a no fucking brainer. We have people going and like risking like their livelihoods, and it's not even their livelihoods, but it's their livelihoods of their families because they go home and they can give them something. Like I've heard stories of like nurses who can't even like talk or like be in the same room with their families for the time being because of where they work.
Right. And these are the people who are like needed to keep the engine running. Like if these people don't work, like the economy just like really can't function. That's
I mean,
why they are the essential workers.
I mean, we're talking about like we're like discussing if like how we're gonna ration like the vaccine between the elderly and the essential workers because they're that important. Yeah. Like, but whatever. I mean,
extra 13 an hour, like that's great. That's more than I heard like anybody like discussing theoretically. Like I heard like $5 on top, like $7 on 13. Wow.
$13 an hour plus on top of their salaries. That would have been insane. So yeah, these are just some of the things that were included in the Heroes Act that was passed in fucking May.
Yep.
Passed by Democrats.
Passed by Nancy Pelosi
and the Democrats.
Not like her at all.
But yeah, like that's insane. Like, and I don't know if I don't know if this is a problem with messaging. I don't know how far the messaging could even go, but this needs to be made clear. This needs to be made so clear, because I understand that from a point of view of not being that involved in politics, you see like a blob of bureaucracy, right? That's what you see in the government, in the Senate, and you don't really figure that these are negotiations coming from a point of two, like they're on two different worlds. They're on two different worlds in their negotiations.
So they were arguing for like $500,000. No, 500 billion. My
500
bad.
billion, yeah. 500. Right. Mitch McConnell's original bill was 500 billion instead of 900 billion, almost half, and it didn't include direct payments.
And it just had like rebuilding that FBI building or some stupid shit like that.
Exactly. Right? They talk about pork belly, right? Yeah. And it also had the liability shield, which we're going to talk about right now. So what was fueling the disagreement between the HEROES Act and then Mitch McConnell's bill and then everything else? The main disagreement that people were talking about was the liability shield versus the state and local aid. Mitch McConnell loves the liability shield. He hates state and local aid.
Right. You may have heard Trump refer to this as bailing out giving money to the crime-ridden Democratic-run cities. Mm-hmm. It's kind of along the same lines.
Because Mitch McConnell doesn't like the blue cities or the blue states, but everyone else does because everyone fucking lives there.
Voting districts, it's like a population map.
Exactly. All right. So what is the liability shield? So a liability shield in layman's terms is basically a shield that takes away all responsibility from corporations if their employees catch COVID while working. Okay? Now, my family owns a small business. I can understand why that could devastate a business. Okay? But it only devastates it because first, we have to stay open because we don't have substantial payments from the government, right? If our employees could be paid to just stay home, then we wouldn't need to open, right?
Right, and these are corporate liability shields. Like, let's be clear about that. These aren't like for small businesses or anything.
I don't know if it would be limited to that, but even
it's
so,
pretty clear what it's intended for.
Well, yeah, it is. All right, but there's two things. First thing. Why is Mitch McConnell so obsessed over it? Elizabeth Warren tweeted out an article that was really, really good by the New York Mag. And basically they were talking about that this just seems like a way for the lobbyists to kind of use this crisis to their advantage by instituting a liability shield that would have lasted, if you look inside the bill of Mitch McConnell's, it would have lasted until 2024.
Yeah, that's fucking insane. I don't know about you, but like I really don't think we're going to be... Well, maybe with this new UK strain we might, but I didn't think we were going to be battling with COVID until 2024.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to take advantage by putting this liability shield, because the liability shield, unless I'm wrong, it didn't have specific wording that said it was only for COVID cases. It would have been for any type of liability shield. It would just been a general liability blanket, basically. And it's very funny because Republicans are the party of personal responsibility, and also the party where you said before, the party that corporations are people. So
right. People too. Yeah.
So apparently this is the party of personal responsibility unless you're a corporation. Unless then there's no responsibility.
United States. Then it's all the governor's job to respond to a national crisis.
Exactly. The reasoning behind it isn't even sound, because since the COVID-19 started, there's only been 234 personal injury or wrongful death lawsuits that have been filed due to COVID-19. Now, how many COVID deaths have we had?
Should be like 350,000 by now.
Yeah. Oh, fucking shit. 326,000 deaths in the United States.
Yeah.
Out of 326,000 deaths, I'm gonna be that petty, and I'm gonna do the fucking math. Okay, let's see. Let's do 234 divided by, what was that? Let's just do 360. It's less than, obviously, it's less than fucking 1%. It's like 0.0006% percent of the deaths, and that's deaths, because you can still sue even if you don't, obviously if you don't die, but
Right.
even if you're sick. So this is not an issue, because it's also hard to because of the nature of the virus. It's hard to say, I caught it at work. It's difficult to prove that. And out of the 234 cases that have been filed, I don't know how many of them actually like made it past like any type of like if it made it past court, if they even got settlements or anything. Like these are just
I doubt it.
things that have been suits that have been filed. That's it. So it's not even, it's a non-issue. It's a non-issue.
Right. So it's like quite literally like not for COVID at all.
Exactly. What is an issue is if people were forced, because what happens, and a lot of experts were talking about this, is that once you take away that once you like shield liability from corporations, they're going to start acting more reckless. They're going to start doing that. And
Of course, that should be obvious to everybody, though, right? I mean, like, it always pads the bottom line when you fuck over your workers. That's why they do it so much.
Exactly. So, I mean, just never, dude. Word of advice: never kill yourself for your job, because they will replace you immediately. Like,
right, and you'll be dead.
Yeah, and you'll be dead. But since this is a non-issue, there is an issue, because if workers are forced to go back to work with unsafe conditions, things like this can happen. Right here, I have an example of 11,000 workers at a Tyson food plant contracting COVID, with 36 of them dying.
Fuck.
Right? Like, what? Okay, people are like, oh wow, 36. Like, dude, like that's preventable. That's preventable.
I was like 36 that totally did not have to die. Like, those are people who knew people and who had families who were very, very sad that they died.
Exactly. And all right, and before we even get into the blue state bailout bullshit, this is what was holding up your checks, your payments, your relief. This is what was holding it up. This liability shield. Insane. Yeah. Like,
that's what he was hardlining for over these 6 months.
All right, so then the other half of this is that he does not like state and local aid, because he thinks that it's going to be a blue state bailout. Now, mind you, this is the same man who suggested that these blue states just go bankrupt. Just go bankrupt. Even though that would never work. That would never work, because a state would just bleed and bleed and bleed out, having to cut more and more programs before they even got to the point where they could declare bankruptcy.
Right, just waste away.
It would just waste away, and maybe that's what he wants, because the plan that I think Mitch McConnell wants to do is just to show the American people, hey, we're not efficient. The government can't do shit, and just depend on yourselves. And
that's the Republican, that's their playbook: defund shit until you can blame it on being the government's fault because it sucks so much.
One of the big things that was part of the CARES Act that actually fueled this was that the state and local aid was limited to municipalities that had 500,000, the population was 500,000 or more. The HEROES Act, the one that we just talked about, corrected that. Corrected it. It would have sent local aid to rural and smaller municipalities as well.
Yeah, it's pretty weird that he didn't hold a vote on that.
I don't think anyone told Mitch McConnell, and then that's kind of screwed up with Democrats not to tell Mitch McConnell that.
Yeah. I know that nobody actually reads those bills. They should.
The idea that state budgets of California or New York were already so inflated because of mismanagement that they don't even need a bailout is just wrong, because the majority of those states that they are talking about, they had balanced budgets, or they weren't running that.
And these are the states with the highest GDP. These are the states that are the net taxpayers. Not saying anything bad about the people in the rural communities. This is kind of to demonstrate that it's not just blue versus red states, and there are people who need help, and that's really all there should be to it. But
yeah,
Mitch McConnell wanted to be a partisan hack.
Right? Well, look at that callback. A little quick anecdote that I just want to put in there. The states with the highest balance of payments, which means that they receive more federal funds than they collect in federal taxes. One of the top state of that is Kentucky.
Yeah.
I wonder who's the senator of this
Welfare.
welfare queen state here. No, let's not do that. Let's not do that. I mean, a lot of those, a lot of that, a lot of that is rural subsidies, agricultural subsidies, and stuff like that. I do understand that.
Shitty tariffs.
Because of it all goes back to that. But now, on the other hand, the states that give more than they get from the federal government is New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Colorado, California for most of years. So weird how it doesn't seem. It seems like reality kind of has like a liberal bias or something. Like someone should make that a quote or something. I don't know. I hope we've made it very, very clear that this is just not a both sides issue. I can agree that there are some issues that are both sides that Democrats need to become more progressive. But this just isn't. This isn't it. This isn't it. So let's move on. Let's talk about Donald Trump outflanking the left once again.
Being a man of people like he always has.
Yeah, being a man of the people, true populist.
All right, like first off, I just want there's no way he didn't know that it was going to be 600 while they were negotiating, right? Like this is all optics. Like if he wanted a better bill, he could have told them before they fucking passed it.
Wasn't that the whole point of his campaign, that he was a businessman, that he could negotiate like no one else?
Right. He makes deals. He makes deals.
Tell me, Donald Trump, what part of the what's his book's name? The Art of the Deal. What part of the Art of the Deal is when other people come up with a deal and you come back afterward and say, hey, this kind of sucks. Why didn't no one tell me about this? And you try to like ham fist the change in after the fact. What part of the Art of the Deal is that? So let's explain a little bit. Actually, let's watch the video because the video is fucking hilarious.
Throughout the summer, Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation.
Nice meme.
In an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk
camera angle switch
is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation.
All right, we can stop it there. Okay.
He actually does go on to mention the FBI building in this bill, which is kind of funny because...
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, so what did you think of that? What did you think of Donald Trump just completely eviscerating the Republican Party, his own party?
I mean, pretty cool, except that like he only name dropped the Democrats and like...
Yeah.
I mean, like, I agree with what he said, but obviously this is all for optics. I mean, like, he would have fucking made sure it was $2,000 before it was all signed, if that's what he really wanted to do.
So let's talk about that for a second. Because Vox did a really good explainer on here, where basically they said how he could in fact do this. First things first. How do you think this is going to play off in Georgia? Because Kelly Loeffler and Purdue just put out an ad, I think just like maybe like a day ago, where he talked about his hand in this new stimulus bill. They were banking on this new stimulus bill. They were banking on it.
They've been banking like their election chances on like clinging on to Trump. And I just don't think it's a winning strategy, really. I mean, like...
So, like, this is a little article here that I got from the Atlanta News, which is like it's straight into Georgia, where it says Georgia's Republican U.S. senators were ready to take a victory lap this week after overwhelming passage of a bipartisan $900 billion coronavirus relief package. Now they must contend with the demands of President Donald Trump to sweeten the pot that play directly into their rivals' criticisms.
This could have actually been really good for them because, like, Ossoff and Purdue were kind of running on, like, hey, vote us for COVID relief, and then something actually passes, and it kind of looks like all that was for nothing, but, like, now Trump's going to veto it, so...
Exactly. Like, all right, so here's the two things. There's two ways that Trump can veto this, all right? The first way is he can just veto this outright as soon as he gets it on his table. Now, Senate Republicans have enough votes to override that veto. But just imagine the optics on that, where Trump is asking them to give you $2,000 in your hand, and Senate Republicans overrode his veto.
Like makes a big show about trying to work with Trump before they like override it.
Exactly, and oh my God! And if you think that these Trump supporters in Georgia who are thinking about not voting for Kelly or Perdue because they didn't fight enough for their king,
they're gonna vote for Warnock and Ossoff.
They're voting Warnock and Ossoff because holy shit, the optics on that. Okay, that's the first option that Trump could do. Second option is that he could just not sign it, and after 10 days, it would just be considered a veto. The problem with that, the problem for the Republicans, basically, like, Congress is going to go in a recess after that, and they won't be able to. If he lets it just sit there, then that time period is going to push it to the point where then the stimulus bill would have to be voted on by the next Senate, not this one. I don't know, like that. Could also,
depending on what that next Senate is, they might as well just pass the HEROES Act at that point if they can. That would be nice. I'm not holding out hopes for it though.
Yeah. So just reading this, it says this is the Vox article that I'm also going to be placing into the description. In the latter case, if Trump does not sign this legislation within 10 days of receiving it, and Congress adjourns, adjourns during that time, the bill is considered vetoed. Congress has the number to override the first option, but faces a more complicated scenario in the second. So yeah, Congress adjourns its term on January 3rd. So
okay.
So they're not going to be able to. If he does take that second option, they won't be able to override it, and it would just go into the next year.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, do you think Trump would, or do you think his ego would get in the way, or do you think that he would still sign it even if Mitch McConnell said no?
I think his ego would get in the way. I would bet on, like, he's nothing but just like he's off the dome 24/7. I don't think he's thought 2 seconds ahead about anything in his life. Just the way he acts and the way he governs, it's just.
Mitch McConnell is gonna go. Mitch McConnell is gonna grab him by the back of the neck and tell him, "Listen, you fuck."
The stretchy skin of his neck.
Yeah, the stretchy skin of his neck, and be like, "Listen, you little fucker, you're messing up our chances in Georgia, head ass." I
grab Mitch McConnell by the gizzard and be like, "I'm trying to win my 2024 election, you fucking turtle."
True. It's like a battle of re-elections. But yeah, Nancy Pelosi has signed on to this this idea, and I commend her for tweeting it out. I mean, I need her to fucking speak up and say something, which she did, and she said that she is so down because on Thursday, Congress and the House is meeting up for something. I forgot specifically what, but she was saying that they could talk about that matter this Thursday and try to get it passed if they wanted to. So she's basically telling them, the ball's in your court. And really putting the pressure on Republicans, and I like that. So there is a Dear Colleague letter that Nancy Pelosi put out. A Dear Colleague letter is basically just like a memo, basically, for her colleagues in the House, where I highlighted it, and I'm going to put it right here, actually. So as we can see here, it says right here, in the bipartisan negotiations, Leader Schumer and I repeatedly asked Republicans what would be the highest number the president would accept for direct payments, and they responded with a Sphinx-like silence. In the negotiations, they would never go above $600, and in some cases proposed $500 fucking dollars. That is ridiculous.
Trying to give us re-up money.
Dude, I can't, oh my God, $500. So now we're going to talk about, it's kind of a nice segue. We're going to talk about the Georgia Senate runoffs and how important it is. Please listen to me. You've heard what we've said. You're not dumb. We need this. We
Yeah,
need
we
a
need
Senate.
Senate,
We
man.
need a Senate. Oh my God. Can you imagine? I don't even want to think about it.
Functioning government, like, my God.
Oh my God. There's only a certain amount of things that Biden can do through executive order and passing through budgetary, what was it called? Budgetary reconciliation or something like that.
I know what you mean. I
Yeah.
forget the exact
So
word. Biden's made it pretty clear he's gonna try and legislate as much as he can and not abuse executive order, which I know people kind of are pissed about, but I mean, that's kind of good. It's a lot harder to undo legislation than it is some executive order, as we've seen.
Oh yeah, I would definitely, and there's an argument to be made, and maybe we can discuss that in another podcast about like how far do you think Joe Biden should return the norms, or kind of just been like, because even if he returns to the norms, and then like historically, you know, Republicans always have a rebound after a Democratic president, and they come in and they're just like all fucking mask off, then what's the point, right?
Yeah.
What is the point? Whatever. Okay, let me put up the Senate polls here. Oh God. Did I say that? Did I say polls? Yes, I did. Okay, here we go. We're looking at the latest polls of the Georgia Senate runoffs. Now, even yesterday, when we tried to record this podcast,
For the third time.
for the third time, Ossoff was up.
Yeah, they were both up, but and then the day before that, they were both like losing to Purdue and Loeffler. So I mean, this is anyone's game. This is a coin flip. So yeah, so if we're looking at it right now, Purdue is above 48.8%, and Ossoff is 48.4%. Now these 0.8 and 0.4, you have to realize these are just maybe like 100,000 votes, or like a little bit more than 100,000 votes. But right, and this is polling. So
this is polling, and okay, I get it. Maybe some states' pollings were off for the election, but Georgia's was pretty accurate. Georgia's was
like the most accurate.
Was actually scary accurate.
Like not the most, but it was like very, very like good job on Georgia Nate Silver. But
yeah.
I
We don't tolerate slander on Nate Silver here. All right, so moving on. Warnock 48.8% over Loeffler's 48.3%. So they're pretty similar positions. I feel like Warnock just kind of has a better odd. Oh my God! If you look at November, Warnock had a 3 point.
He's just more exciting.
He is, and
like listening to it, like his sermons are pretty base too. I mean, like, he should just run a couple of those for campaign ads.
Yeah,
I want to see a duo debate between the candidates, but I know that'll never happen. That would be so much fun though.
Could you imagine Warnock and Ossoff a 2v1 against Loeffler because Purdue's not going to show up?
Oh my God, that would be so funny.
Just leaves her out in the rain.
I don't think she would notice.
Could you? Yeah, I don't know. She'll start like short circuiting and shit.
Yeah.
All right. If we look at all the runoff polls, we can see the different grades on here. Oh my God, this one right here, Survey USA. I don't know how much I hold value to Survey USA. I mean, they are A-rated, but we have Ossoff 51 to 46. This must have been an outlier. Then we have Warnock on top, 7 points. Adjusted leader, 5 points. Then we have Emerson. We had Purdue up 2, and then Loeffler up 2. Emerson was pretty good. Fucking Trafalgar. Based Trafalgar +3 Purdue, and Loeffler +2. So yeah, this is a tight race. This is anyone's game. You can, I mean, there's so many avenues that you can help out. You can go on to Vote Save America and sign up for phone banking and sign up for. I mean, it's not even just them. There's so many different people going down to Georgia to help out. And if you can't go down to Georgia, and talking about
it is going to be like, because turnout is going to play in our favor every single time. If we get more turnout, it's probably going to help us. So
exactly.
And these early votes for the Georgia runoff have been record shattering, if like I recall correctly. So
oh yeah. And we're reaching just in early voting. We're I think we've passed or we're reaching like our turnout for the election. So
that's nuts.
It is nuts. But okay, let me switch back here. Just to talk about some things about how Democrats can win in Georgia, just to quickly touch on it. Basically, what we've seen here is that there's two strong bases in Georgia for Democrats. It's the black voter base and, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, depending on if you follow politics or not, white suburban vote. White suburban vote.
Turned out for Biden this year.
I mean, the white suburban vote put Biden over the top in Georgia. That we can say. 538 had a really, really good article called "Split Ticket Voters Are a Small Group, but They Could Decide the Georgia Runoffs." Now, ticket splitting is basically when you vote one party at the top and then one party at the Senate. So you split your vote. Now, a lot of people were saying that that's maybe what happened, and that's why a lot of Republicans won down ballot, but not at the top of the ballot. And we've had mixed data on like how prevalent that was, but in Georgia, if we are to believe the 538, and I hope so, Georgia did have a lot of ticket splitting, a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know how Trump not being at the top of the ballot would affect the ticket splitting. I don't know if people would just revert back to Republicans if they're more moderates or conservatives, or if they would feel.
Also, sorry, Loeffler's unelected, is she not? Like, if I remember correctly.
No, I don't think so. She's very unpopular. Very unpopular. What helped the place that in this article, the place that it says that Ossoff and Warnock really need to pick up ground is in suburban or well-educated areas such as Atlanta's metropolitan area, including Fulton, Cobb, and Forsyth. So if we look at here, these are the 6 Georgia counties where Biden outperformed Ossoff the most in terms of votes, of total votes in November 4th. I feel like they really single out Ossoff here because he is really, it seems like he's lagging behind Warnock. But regardless.
Yeah, backpacked, I can't lie.
He is getting backpacked. But if you look at here, if you look at the different counties, Fulton County, Cobb County, and DeKalb, I feel like I've seen tweets about this being pronounced bad before, but if we see here, like we have 16,000 votes that Biden overperformed Ossoff, 10,000, 9,000, and these are white suburban areas here, where Ossoff needs to make up ground. So this is the big problem with. Okay, so I'm without even going into my ideology, I'm more of a moderate in these type of things, and I've seen a lot of people talk about Purdue and not Purdue and talk about Ossoff, and maybe that maybe he's too moderate, or he does not support the Medicare for all thing. And I mean, I support Medicare for all. I also support the public option. But
yeah, we can get all into that. But I mean, like, bottom line is, among the voting base, they're already running on public option, which is more popular. So
yeah, I mean, that's gonna get that clip. That's gonna get you in trouble. But no, what I'm saying is a lot of people were, huh?
I'm like I do not think a public option is enough. I'm a very strong supporter of Medicare for all, but I mean, like, strategically, I see no reason Ossoff should advocate for Medicare for all.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you just want to take a look at how a public option can deteriorate the private market, you can just look at, Australia is a good example of that. The thing that I see a lot of criticisms of Dems or just Ossoff, or I mean Dems in general, is that they're not reaching out to their progressive base. Now, that's a double-edged sword, because what a lot of people talk about when you're running in Georgia or in a more moderate purple state is that you have to walk the fine line of getting of being progressive enough and being talking about racial issues and all that to get the urban area, the urban Atlanta metropolitan area to come out to vote, but not so much that you start annoying the fuck out of us white suburban voters as well. It's hard. I wish. I mean, they have their own reasons for being moderates. I wish that it would be easier to kind of talk about these things without having to fear, that you're being too extreme or too progressive and pushing away voters. But that's the reality.
When all those like things come from like a Labor candidate, it goes over a lot easier.
Exactly.
So, like, I don't know. I kind of see that as a winning strategy.
It is, because, I mean, and Ossoff and Warnock both can really lean into these racial issues because, Warnock is a pastor. Literally, Warnock is for people who don't know, Warnock is a pastor at the church where Martin Luther King was also the pastor. That's Junior. Like, that's the man, the boss. He was in that church. And Ossoff worked for John Lewis. When Ossoff ran for Senate the first time, was it Senate? I think it was Senate.
I think so.
John Lewis was his first speaker, or like he campaigned with them on his first campaign event. So they could do that, but it's just hard. It's just hard because, you know, it's white suburbia. You have to get their vote out.
Right, and they're like, after thinking about it and arguing about it, like there really is no like one blanket strategy. I mean, the United States is just too diverse for that.
That's the issue that I always see. So Republicans have almost, if you want to consider the Tea Party a divergence in ideology, but they almost have like a homogenous monolith ideology. While Democrats have always tried to pursue, I mean, and because of the way that the Senate works out, because of the districting and everything like that, we have to get as many people from all over the spectrum to vote for us in order to gain power. But what ends up happening is, because like we're pandering, it's not even pandering, we're just trying to get the votes of different people. We have to go with like the lowest, like the most basic, boring platform to reach everyone. Now, you can say that, you can say that the Democrat voters are ready for a more progressive platform, and I would agree with you. But this is a hard thing. I mean, I'd like to see a lot of people shitting on Ossoff, a lot of these people on Twitter and shit like that. Go and fucking door knock in a rural Georgia area, and then tell them that they're fucking wrong for not liking Medicare for all, for thinking that Medicare for all is socialism. They'll tear you up.
You got to be the right kind of candidate just to even advocate for it.
Yeah, I mean, Stacey Abrams really did a good job, because she skirted that line, and she actually pulled out the fucking abacus and did the math about how many votes she needed in each area in order to see how she would handle her messaging.
It was some good math, because we won Georgia.
We won Georgia. So yeah, I mean, we'll be keeping up and we'll be keeping tabs on the Georgia Senate runoffs. But again, I'll be putting links in the description so you can, you know, do whatever you can to help out. This is very, very important. You can't. I think as citizens of America, you have every right to complain, but I feel like your complaints kind of diminish a little bit if you're not getting involved. I mean, that's just my opinion. I still think you have the right to criticize, and I mean, it is your livelihood. But come on, like, if you want good things, we have to work for them, and we have to work hard. I mean, that's just me. Did you want to add anything else at the end of this?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, just get out there, talk about it. Really just talk about it and learn more about it. If that's, like, if you're kind of new to politics, I mean, like I said before, that is kind of the goal of this show, podcast, at least for me, is to kind of get political discussion into the mainstream, at least, or not, like, especially for our age group, because I think it would just be really beneficial in the long term.
Yeah, and this is the, you know, this is and was the Partisan Hacks podcast. This is all under the State Capacity Media name. We're going to be putting out not just this podcast. We're going to be putting out hopefully a blog soon, and then a standalone videos going deep diving into theory, into
A lot.
Huh?
I plan on streaming a lot.
Logan will be streaming on Twitch. I'm not much of a gamer myself. I'll do some things, but I mean,
Minecraft.
I'm gonna play Minecraft. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. You know, I think it went well. I mean, I know I know a lot of people in their first podcast or whatever, it's kind of messy, but I feel like we covered our bases.
Yeah, no, this is a good one. This is a good first product.
Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and as we add more accounts and stuff like that, then we'll do that as well. But also, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment,
ring that bell,
ring that bell. All right, and comment, and we'll be sure to ignore it and or pick up on it if we find what you say interesting. Any last words? Oh wait, I want to end this with something. That I think you'll find funny.
All
okay,
right. I'm waiting.
All right, so we know we've been discussing, and I don't know if you guys have heard about the Jimmy Dore situation.
Yeah,
you've heard of it.
Yeah, everybody who's involved has heard about that by now, I think.
Exactly. Okay, so I mean, just to clear it up, Jimmy Dore has been viciously attacking AOC, calling her a gutless politician.
Harder than he has attacked anybody so far that I've seen. Harder than he has gone after even Pelosi. Harder than he's gone after. He doesn't go after really Republicans at all. So harder than he goes after them.
So the idea was that he's been shitting on AOC relentlessly for not using her acquired political capital to abstain or get other people part of her progressive caucus, like the squad and everything, to not vote for Nancy Pelosi's re-election for the Speaker of the House, and hold that as leverage to get Medicare for all on the floor to a vote. Because
it's like a total expenditure of political capital. Like, if she actually does this, she will lose so much fucking credibility and like political effectiveness.
And she already doesn't really have much within like the more moderate base of the party. Like, and I wish, and like she's such a good candidate.
For how much she like openly opposes Pelosi already. Like, I really don't know like how much more he expects her to fuck Pelosi.
She said that Pelosi and Schumer have to go. Like,
yeah, like during this drama, she said that.
And I mean, Pelosi has said this will be her last term, and she's giving no reason to believe that she's been lying about that. But
80.
Yeah, I mean, I would fucking retire. I mean, I would hate this. I would really hate this if I was 80. And if I was a millionaire like her, I would fucking go on. Anyway, so yeah, so setting aside how dumb that plan is, okay? The point of this is that he thinks that Medicare for all is so important, and I do agree, but it's so important that the public option, what Biden's proposing, what Pete was proposing with Medicare for all who want it, these are all unacceptable compromises.
Right, like putting aside the fact that it would take years to implement Medicare for all, and we would not be getting it in time to save anybody in this pandemic.
Exactly. Well, now remind you, remember what I just said, that his position was on this, okay?
Right. If you don't hardline for Medicare for all, you're a treacherous wench, and you've been co-opted and corrupted, and you're
exactly. So let's
haunt you.
Let's let me pause the music real quick, and then okay, let's watch this.
Well, you came out with your new single payer plus, but people are saying, oh, Tulsi flip-flopped on Medicare for all. Now, you seem to be not wanting to outlaw private insurance, more like, say, what works in Australia.
That's
so
right.
Now I'm very familiar. I've been to Australia. I know how their system works. So that, to me, is 1,000% improvement. That certainly is still Medicare for all, but you still are a firm supporter of Medicare for all. You just have a little bit, and it's not...
Just a little bit
Medicare
different.
for all has become something so ambiguous and meaning something different to so many
It's not
other
ambiguous.
people.
Bernie wrote a bill.
So
It's pretty
there's
fucking
two
concrete
things
what
about
it
the
entails.
healthcare plan. One, the beauty of it is that it takes away the right-wing talking point. Most people are for single payer, but they can talk them out of it or scare people with how they couch it. And so Tulsi's approach takes that talking point away.
How?
It takes the talking point away of, hey, they're going to take away your health care. They're going to take away your health care. They're going to make it illegal for you to get private health insurance. And then
Right.
the
So it's
government's
the
going
optics
to run
argument
in.
that he
And so
will
that
go
takes
on.
away all that.
Oh, that's the literal argument of Pete Buttigieg and why he put out Medicare for all who want it. That's the literal reasoning behind it. Oh my God. What a...
And like the broader like issue here is optics. That's what he's arguing for, and that's AOC's like why virtue signal when it looks terrible.
Oh my God. Like, what a fucking Jimmy Dore, you fucking hack. Relentlessly shitting on AOC when oh my, like it's you conspiracy nut. I know you hate when people call you that. Yeah, okay, I'm done. But yeah, I just wanted to end you with I wanted to end it with that right there. Thank you very much for watching, and this has been the Partisan Hacks podcast. My name is Franco, and this is Logan. All right.